What do you do? You should,
So if you're
oh,
on the
that's
main
not that.
screen and scroll,
Yeah. No, here, hold on a second. I think you muted yourself. All right. Well, let's see
yes.
what we got going on. Oh, I can hear you now. You're all good. One second, guys. Let's see. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Let me send Jeff real quick. Send him this text. Copy link. All right. 1 second. I'm trying to make sure everybody's getting links. I don't know why we're having like link problems. I mean, I just tested it and it's working fine. But oh, hey Jeff, there's Jeff. Let's see if Mike. He said he was having some link problems too, though. All right. Well, we got a lone person here, so that's all that matters. So basically, what I wanted to go over today, I think is pretty important for a lot of people, is I want to talk a little bit about kind of breaking down your business when you feel like you're super busy and you got a lot going on, but not a lot's happening. This is a really good time to start digging in and breaking your business down and figuring out like the low level activities that just are really stopping you from making money. And the belief of what we try to do is we try to identify these activities that eat a lot of our time that we do that could easily be systemized and put together and delegated out to someone for a very affordable amount of money. We're going to talk about doing it on Upwork because I've found people on Upwork who can do almost anything you want. I mean, honestly, they can just be complete great assistants and they can kill it for very little money, but it requires you learning how to do it. First of all, the first step in doing this is actually, taking the time to look through your daily activities and figuring out of those daily activities, what's eating a lot of your time and how much of that stuff that's eating your time is what really moving the needle forward and causing your business to make a lot of money. Anytime I find people that are really busy and but their production, there's not a lot of production coming out, then I'm like, okay, you're disorganized and you need to get some stuff going. Because for many years I worked really hard, a lot of hours, but it didn't seem like a lot happened. Right? I always felt like I was not doing anywhere. It's like I was just working really hard. And what I found about 4 or 5 years ago was it had a lot to do with me choosing to do a lot of small activities that I felt like, oh, it's not a big deal. Let me just run and do this. Let me do that. And making those choices actually caused me to always stay really busy and never get an opportunity to really put the time into the stuff that really made a big difference in my business that caused me to make a lot more money. Because there's a handful of things, only about 10% of what you do every day is actually driving a big portion of your income. Now, there's about 90% of what you do that you believe you need to do and you think you couldn't live life without. But ultimately, if you can get rid of a lot of that by delegating it off, the secret is that once you get really clear about of that 90%, the good news is that you don't have to even delegate all 90% off because there's a really good chance that of that 90%, probably 30 to 40% of it doesn't even need to be done. Like you actually think you need to do it, and that's called redundancy, right? When you have a lot of redundancy, things you're doing, you're wasting time on this, wasting money on that, and it's just eating all your profits. It's eating all your ability to have freedom. So
Computerized, because
number
I put
one
that in.
number one focus always starts with figuring out the things that are eating your time, eating your freedom. And once you can figure out those things, we can actually start to get rid of those, and then we can start to systematically hire people to do small jobs one at a time. So Jeff volunteered for us to kind of help him walk through what he had going on because he's got a lot going on. But for the amount of work he's doing, I was telling him that I think he could probably work about half the time that he's working now if he could strategically get rid of some stuff and then strategically take some of the stupid stuff out that he could totally do or not, have someone else do, and then learn to hire someone for Upwork. So we're going to talk a little bit about today how to identify the things you want to work on, and then we're going to actually go through and talk about how you set Upwork up, how you get people in, how you interview them, and we're going to go through that probably on this training and probably a bonus training because we won't finish it all today. But this is a really big piece because I right now got someone on $10 an hour off of Upwork who works 4 hours a week, who does like about 6 or 7 different things for me that eat a lot of time. Well, obviously they do that in about 4 or 5 hours a week, but honestly, I was taking like everyone else like 10 hours a week to do. So they're really fast, they're really efficient. And the reason that it's taking so much less time for them to do it is because when I hired it out and I broke it down to be like, this thing takes this long, I was actually able to figure out that I didn't need to do a lot of it and that some of it was being done the slow way. And so I was looking for ways to do things really quickly and very efficient. So let's start, see if we can get Jeff on. We have him here somewhere. Let's see, Jeff, I'm going to unmute you. Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And I see your book, so you're all good. I know you're there. Got the ceiling. So Jeff, let's walk through a little bit of some of the things you can do. I actually talked to Michael about this a little bit and Robert about this earlier. And Robert started to already figure out a handful of things because he actually has his stepson working for him, and he had him doing a lot of useless stuff that was like not really that productive, just to keep him busy. And I know Mike's had some people he's had work for him before where he's like, I got to keep this VA busy, and he had him doing things that weren't really moving the needle, but they were staying busy, and it just felt good to have things getting done. But they're not the things that actually, when you look at your bank account, you're like, holy crap, my bank account just doubled because I did all these cool things. Like, we have to hold everything we do accountable to say, does it actually move the needle of income? If it moves the needle of income, then it's very productive, and everything else almost is meaningless, right? So all the little details have to be given away to someone else so that you can focus on the things that make you money, right?
Yeah.
It's really tough. It's tough to go through. So Jeff, let's walk through and try to figure out what a handful of things are that keep you pretty busy that you would prefer not to do. So that's always the first step. Like, what do you prefer not to do? And then from there, what we can do is we can talk about trying to hire someone, like how we would go about hiring someone to do that, and systematically breaking it down so you'll have a really good experience with the VA, or you'll have a very clear cut, like they didn't meet X standards, so I can fire them and go to the next person.
Well, today, I've got, I've got 2 jobs going right now. One's a rather big job. The other one, we should be done in probably about 3 total weeks' time. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't need anything but new doors, couple windows, flooring. The big job, I've been ordering the materials in bulk from Home Depot, and they've brought out 2 loads so far, but typically today, I got another guy on the small job, so I'm picking up drywall mud to run down to him, but I ran out of time, so I've got to go down there early morning. That's something I should have those guys doing, picking up their own little stupid crap like that.
Well, I was going to start with that. So let's. You got a pen and paper? Because I unfortunately somebody stole my pen. I was going to write some of this down. And if you have a pen and paper, please write it down and send it to me so we can talk a little bit about more on our calls. But essentially, Jeff, so right off the bat, huge time saver is that you totally cannot, you have to train your guys to get the materials, and you have to train them to not, you don't have to order materials. They just go pick it up and take it to the pro desk. You get like a text to pay for it or a call to pay for it. And that right there is just going to put hours to your day back in your, back into your life, right? So what we're doing is we're going to do an audit of your time and just figure out right off the bat the easy stuff. That's going to be one of the real big easy things, is stop allowing and stop being so involved in the basics that like your guys totally can do. Mm-hmm. Right now, you don't need to pay them to do that. You just negotiate as that, like, dude, this is what I'm paying you. If you're working for me and I'm keeping you busy, you got to run and get some stuff for me. Now, also, because even like doing deliveries, I like getting things delivered. The problem with doing deliveries, though, is it requires a lot of time to do the delivery. So 2 things I do is, one is I don't actually take anything that's going to be a standard building material. I'll never put that on a delivery, and I always make my deliveries over the phone, because I find it a lot easier to put my deliveries over the phone than it is to type them up, because when I type them up, I actually got to go find all the SKU numbers, make sure it's the right SKU number, and I got to do all these things. And I just find that not that great, because if I call up the Home Depot desk and talk to the guy and I'm like, hey man, I need 100 2x4s, like he knows what the SKU number is for the 2x4s. He just like, cool, I got that. Awesome. And then like, hey, I need, 50 sheets of sheetrock, and I need 5 buckets of, the mud, the blue top mud. And they'll be like, yep, I know what that is. 4 rolls of tape. They know this stuff off the top of their head because they make these orders every day. If I got to do it, like you can see, that was pretty quick, but if I got to do it, I got to sit there and research it, make sure I'm giving the wrong number. And honestly, it becomes like doing like paperwork almost. It's
Right.
very like menial task that's very draining of my energy. Right. So we
Right.
always got to like think like, how much is my energy being drained by these activities? And I can tell you that like me getting on the phone and having a conversation is a lot easier than me sitting down by the computer for 45 minutes and putting SKU numbers in. So like I always lean towards making the phone call if I am going to order materials. I love dealing with people I can just get on the phone and call. If you're more of an analytical guy who doesn't like to get on the phone and would prefer to do it like with paperwork or do it on the computer, then totally do that. But I found it to be faster and more efficient when I just jump on the phone with them and then just give them the order. That usually takes me 10 minutes to place an order. And it's what I was forced to do on the fly because I was super busy when I was doing like 30 houses a year, and I was the project manager and I was the acquisitions guy and I was doing everything along with my partner. And we didn't have many hours in the day. So everything I was doing, I had to figure out how to make it work. So I might be like driving to a house to see a house and placing an order on the phone, right? Just like,
Right.
asking essentially, getting stuff knocked out. But what I really started doing that I would say changed the game for me is I just started saying, guys, go get what you need to stay busy and call me up. And then what they would do is over the phone say, okay, Juan's here and he wants this, this, and this. And we're instinctually know like if that makes sense or not. And the only thing that I now order, or my project manager orders now, would be like tile, hardwood, appliances, things like that, cabinets. We just order those handful of things, but we're not ordering. Like I've taught them what doors I use, what trim I use, which ones to buy. They know what to get, and and they know what like 2x4s and sheetrock and mud. They kind of get all that stuff, right? They know what's what. So I don't mind them just going there to get it. They sit at the pro desk and make it work. And for me, that just makes my life a lot easier when you do that because I want you to like give really disconnect. It's almost like you're a helper, right? You're running this big business, like you're trying to make a lot of money, and you're running around picking mud up for someone. Like I'm not
Right.
even
Yeah.
willing to pay somebody $10 an hour to do that, Jeff. You realize that, right? I fired the
Yeah.
guy that used to do that for me. I had a guy that ran and got mud for people and did stuff like that, and I was paying him like $13 an hour. I eventually realized I didn't even need him. By getting the contractors to do it, I was able to let him go. Like he ran into somebody drunk one day, so I just let him go. And then we never rehired the position
Yeah.
again because I didn't even need him. But like he wasn't even. Not only is it not a $13 an hour job, it's a useless job. Is the best way to look at it, right? It's a job that's
Right.
not even
Right. Yeah.
because let them
Yeah.
take care of it.
Absolutely.
So
No,
I would say
absolutely.
right there, if you can figure out how to make that happen like instantly, like I'm saying, let's do this like the next week, and then you're going to see some time come back to you. So that's number
Mhm.
one. Now, when you get that time back, Jeff, we can start figuring out. Now that you have some time back, let's figure out how we can start using that time to do some of the really important needle movers, the things that really make your business move forward. And that's always going to be revolved around the 3 profit multipliers, which is finding deals, getting your construction done, and then selling them for the most money. So if you don't have time to do any of those 3 or really nail those 3, then just stop doing anything that doesn't like move the profits forward. So that's going to be number one thing, right? So that's going to be helpful. So you're using a lot of time on that. What else is eating a lot of your
You
time?
check in a second place, it goes away.
Well, that's one thing. Like I've got materials coming to the job tomorrow, and my larger job. I've got to get out there. I want to see how that progress has been going out there. And yeah, I picked up the mud today because I want to go out to to my small job and see how they're doing. But those are 2 clear things of, I've eliminated a lot of going to Home Depot and Lowe's by doing the orders, but I would like to get what you're talking about and get down to where, if I'm going to order items, it's going to be like ceiling fans, faucets, appliances, lighting, doorknobs, things that I don't want these guys picking,
Well, honestly,
and then they
if
can get
you're
all the
smart, you're
common
using
stuff.
the same stuff on
Yeah.
every house. So like they should be able to pick the doorknobs, they should be able to pick the doors, because they'll know
Yeah.
what size doors they'll need, and you just say, hey, give me the 2 panel, the 6 panel, whatever you use. And that makes your life
Right.
easy. They start to know how to get paint. They start to now do all these things. So, that's how it works. Christine is saying she can't hear us. So Christine's probably got something to do with your computer. Everyone else can hear pretty well. So it might be something along the line of like go down and check your volume, or check like your computer to make sure that your volume is on within your computer, versus, because it looks like you're fine. We don't have you cut off as far as well, actually, I don't see anything. So you don't have any audio happening at all. So yeah, based on what I'm seeing from this side, it looks like you just need to get your audio on, because sometimes it needs to be like manually turned on. And once you've done it once, it'll stay turned on. You'll be good in the future. So just mess with it a little bit and you should be, actually, I think you got it. I seen the unmute button come up. So whatever you just hit worked. Let me unmute and see.
Yay, I'm so happy.
Okay, cool. I can hear you. Yep, you got it. Cool. I'm going to turn you off now, but all right, you're good. Okay. So basically, yes, you can take this to like a really heavy extreme. When I fired that guy, Jeff, I literally gave myself no ability to go get anything. I own like a Mercedes CSL, like 550. So like I wasn't putting a tool in the back of that. It didn't fit anything. I didn't own a pickup truck, because I'm like, if you own a pickup truck, you will end up in that pickup truck going to buy stuff and acting like a fool,
Right.
when you could be doing stuff to make a lot of money. And I'm not saying I don't get involved. You might see me come up in my, no pickup truck with some tool belt and working. I don't mind doing that if I'm hiring people and creating value, but I don't think there's any value in me going to get a tool in. Like there just isn't. And I want to train my guys to do that, because even if it just takes you an hour to run there, get the tool in, an hour and a half, it's the break in attention. Right? When we get focused on high level money making activities, we can't afford to have an hour and a half break in attention, because when you start to get deep into searching the MLS, calling people, trying to make deals happen, it's really difficult to get deep back into that focus if you put an hour and a half break in the middle of it. You literally could end up being an hour and a half of traveling and getting the tool, but it might be like an hour or 2 hours of rebooting back up. If you even do it, you might just get distracted and end up on some webinar or something. Who knows? That sounds like something I would do. So I found that like when I like to start things and I like to do all my important stuff in the morning, because I am totally like not as good at in the afternoon when it comes to doing like tasks. Right. And that's why I do a lot of this coaching in the afternoon, because I love talking about real estate and doing all that. That fires me up. But placing an order doesn't fire me up. Like going to Home Depot and picking colors and some of that stuff I have to do doesn't fire me up. So I do all the stuff that I don't enjoy as much in the morning first thing. Like literally, I don't even eat breakfast. I found that if you don't eat, you're super energetic. I've intermittent fast till like noon, drink some coffee, and I'm 100% clear. And actually the only time I'm tired is after I eat lunch. And then I've got to take a nap to process all the food I just ate. But ultimately, like eating is like just a death sentence. Honestly, it takes, it kills your whole day when they're like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I'm going to say I've watched too many YouTube videos that disagree with that. It's like eating breakfast is actually a no-no if you want to be productive. So breakfast, just especially a big one. I'm not saying don't have a coffee and a donut or something, but like literally eating like a full breakfast, you're going to have to go back to bed around 9 o'clock after you processed it all. You're going to be like so tired and lethargic, and you're not going to get anything done. So I love to work out in the morning. So I usually work out 7 to 8, 3 days a week. And then from there, I just go straight in and like knocking out all my important duties, like first thing in the morning, like drawings, the things that move my business forward is making sure I got the drawings for all my properties, that I've got the design picked out. I've got everything planned out for the next couple weeks of what's going to get done on my flips, who's doing it, what I need to order, what I need to get done today, tomorrow, the next day, right? And if there's anything after that, the planning stuff's always going to come on the high end, right? Because see, the planning stuff's big. The manual stuff of like ordering, I mean, I could literally say, you know what, I'm not going to order. And if you got no one to do it for you, then guess what? You're doing it, and that's cool. But if you have to do it because it's a low-level activity, then figure out the most efficient way to do it. Take and say, okay, how do I do this in like almost no time? What I found, because I don't like to do this, is that I just get on the phone, place the order, and I make them figure it out for me. They're like, you know the SKU number? No, I don't know the SKU number. Can you look back on my account, what I bought last time I was here? And they're like, okay. And they just do it, right? And I just get on the phone and I'll do it while I'm driving. It's probably like if I'm driving to see a property, I'm doing anything else, I always try to use my drive time to do stuff, because listening to the radio, probably the thing that changed my life as a professor when I went to school for house flipping. I had a professor, she called herself a professor, but she gave me the advice of like taking the time that you spend in your car, and instead of listening to the radio, listening to like motivational stuff like Tony Robbins, or I found it. I've already listened to like 700 motivational things, and I'm out of stuff. So now I actually do work. And or listen to motivational stuff, and sometimes I jam out to music, but music's not a guarantee, because if I've got stuff to do, I love getting on the phone while I'm driving, because I feel like it's wasted time, right? It's time that I could be making very productive, and I could be getting a lot done. So I totally love being able to call the pro desk and place these orders, and I totally love being able to call my guys and say, hey dude, I need some help, go do this thing for me, right? This is it. Like, I need you to support me. And because you think that you have the time to be there, but you don't, because there's things in your business
Right.
that you need to be doing that you can't get to, which is proof that if you basically sold out. You're selling out, and you're going getting some spackle instead of doing your books. If someone else can do the spackle, someone else can't do the books, right? That makes sense.
Right.
Like, someone else can't run the math of your business and the money and handle your money. Someone else certainly can go get some spackle. So the easiest things, the most low level things, we have to avoid those at all costs, and we have to just treat those like the plague, and not trying to be like big time or like we're too good to do something. I'll certainly do something if I have to, but I will exhaust all other options before I volunteer. Before I'm like, oh, I'll just go do that, I will literally call multiple people. And by the time I call one or two people and I get real resourceful about it, I almost always can find someone else to do it for me. And then I can stay focused where I should be on the MLS, looking for deals, calling back leads, trying to find the next flip, trying to make sure I got money for that flip, that flip's planned out. These are the higher level activities that only we can do, and that we want to put our time into. So I would say that's number one thing. And I think that alone could make a huge difference if we just, over the next few weeks, just start empowering them to take charge and handle this stuff for you. Now, when you check in, you don't always got to drive there either. This is going to be the next step of cutting some time down. You should be checking in with them every day, but I don't know you need to go to the house every day. I often have no issue doing a FaceTime video and just letting them see the property, letting them check in. It's a very effective way to have a 10-minute, 15-minute video call, instead of like getting in your car and driving a half hour each way and then getting distracted. I love being able to do that, because I can stay, if I'm in touch with them daily, nothing ever gets out of whack, just so you know. You're never going to see your flip get completely out of whack if you call and talk to them 10 minutes a day. That's all it requires to make sure that you don't see your house go like crash and burn. Now, if you get to where you're busy, and because you're running some route to one place or doing this at another place, and then you got to do your books and you got to make your calls and do all these things, next thing you know, you ain't been to the house in a week. Well, things start to get a little whacked out if it's been a week. If it's been 2 weeks, you pretty much might be in big trouble. So I kind of dedicate to say, like, if I'm super busy, I'll at least make a 10-minute call there. And if I make the 10-minute call, that most of the time, if in that call I'm resourceful and I'm like, hey, I don't have time to do this, could you do it for me? Most of the time they'll take care of it for me, and we just work it out, right? And now I'm not doing it. Okay. Because that's the thing. Like, I got to be able to do what's important first. I have to totem pole the activities in my business. When you learn to take and create and put everything on a totem pole, then what's going to happen? Like, this is the most important activity. Well, if you guarantee you get that done first, what happens is most of the activities down here don't even need to be done. See, the reason that most of the activities you're doing at the bottom need to be done is because of how poorly you're doing the stuff at the top. Does that make sense?
Right. No,
Like,
it does.
it actually
Can you hear me?
creates work. Yes, I can hear you well. It actually creates work that you shouldn't be doing, because ultimately, if you do the top end stuff poorly, it will create a lot of consequences, a lot of symptoms to the disease, essentially. But the disease is that you're not doing the top level stuff well. So one of the top level things, and I'll tell you kind of a symptom of a disease, well, if you're out there and you ain't got time to properly find good deals, then you take crappy deals. Right. And if you take crappy deals, well, guess what? Crappy deals mean you're doing 90 and 100K renovations. You're doing a lot more work. But when you've got abundance with deals, all of a sudden you can wholesale off the 90K renovations. You can keep the 50, 60K renovations. You start having, that's going to require you, though, having a lot of focus and a lot of time to go and look for the best deals and to get more deals than you need. But you got to get out of the grind, right? Get out of the day-to-day on the rehab piece, because if we want to micromanage so much, I would say that on average, if I can just get to the house twice a week in person and call 10 minutes a day and do a video call, that you should be able to manage the house really well. And anything outside of that, like just get someone else to do it. When I say someone else, I'm not saying hire an employee. I'm saying hire some of the people that are already working for you and doing the construction, empower them to take care of business for you.
Yeah, I hate to do that. I've got to, you know, like we were kind of talking about the other day, is I've got to give a little more, you know, I got to learn to let go of the reins. You know, I want to make sure everything's going right. So I want to be there and, you know, make sure these guys are getting done exactly the way I want. But, you know, I go out there and get done pretty good. And I want to just sitting around chewing the fat with these guys more than anything else. And, you know, I don't really have time for that either. I got to get back here and get stuff done. So, yeah, it's got to be a better way. And, yeah, getting these guys to handle more day to day without me having to butt in and run errands, because that's basically what it comes down to. I'm running their errands, you know?
Yep.
And, yeah, I got to get away from that.
Yeah, just do it. That's not and think of like the emotional thing that it's serving for you. When you're like, I end up shooting the shit with them and chewing the fat. Like, dude, you just enjoy being around people. So you like to go hang out, connect with your people, it feels good. But you're basically, it's a lack of discipline, right? It's always like the discipline would be that I don't have to do that. Now you enjoy it. So it'll be awesome when you go twice a week and you end up doing that. That's fine. You can connect with them. You can kind of go there, but make your mission to go there and be like, hey, you know, high five on all the stuff you got done. And, you know, let me blue tape some stuff you need to take care of, or, you know, I'll give you enough. Basically, you're just checking in with them daily to keep them going. That's it. Every day, just here's what I want to get done today. Is that you got everything you need? Is there anything you're missing? Oh, okay, cool. Can you go to Home Depot and pick it up for me? Right now, can I get it? Just making sure you're basically just managing them to do everything, and you're making sure everything's good, because your job is, first of all, like, people think we need to work as house flippers, but your only job you necessarily have to do is sign that paperwork and take the risk of doing the flip. Like, if you did nothing and you had everyone do everything for you, I would tell you that you've paid the piper by signing the paperwork and taking the risk. So anything you do above and beyond that is you just wanting to be involved. So, like, you know, don't ever get a mindset of like, well, you know, I want to make sure people don't think I'm just, you know, making a bunch of money flipping houses, because honestly, just taking the risk of flipping a house, you've done everything you need to do, because guess what? Other people aren't taking that $100,000-$200,000 risk, right? They're not taking risk.
Exactly.
So, like, you could just sit here and make money. This was the reason me and my partner got along so well. He didn't do very much at all, if anything. And he was always like, well, I feel like I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, Jay, you put all the money up. It's like, I respect how much money you have. $2 million invested in our business, because we're doing like 30 flips at a time. And I'm like, you've got $2 million invested. I'm like, dude, if you didn't show up, I would have no hard feelings. Like, seriously, I'm like, you know, I got none of my money and you got $2+ million in. And if that's all you ever did, I'd be more than happy to give you half the business. And yeah, because you're taking the risk, it's your money. Right. And you're owed that. So it's a high level way of thinking. I didn't think that way originally. I had to take and have a shift, because I started getting a little in his pocket. Like, he's making half the money, he didn't do very much. That was super low level. And I realized, like, okay, that was negativity creeping in. The high level way of thinking of it was like, this dude's put the money up. And if I could put the money up, I'd be doing it, but I didn't have it at the time. So guess what? He had what I didn't have. Money is king, cash is king, right? So bottom line is, like, you're putting the money up. Those guys got the money, let them go do their own flip. So you don't feel like you got to do anything. Your job's to do as little as possible, so you can go get more money, to do more flips and go get more flips, right? That's your job, is like to make sure first and foremost that you're getting good flips and good houses to choose. And that job needs to be done really well. And it can't be done really well if you make the decision to see the house more than you need to see it. You never go to Home Depot again, unless I only go to Home Depot to just pick materials for design. I never go there for like, somebody needs something. I'm like, if they need something, go get it. There's protest, you know, like, go get it, dude.
I
like,
need to get there.
No, exactly. Yeah. Let them take care. Well, you don't have to get there. You make this choice tomorrow and just do it. This is not something that a guy who wants to run a high level business can do. Like, period. So you just stop doing it. You tell them tomorrow, like, you start tomorrow with like, hey, dude, take care of this stuff. I'm not taking care of it. So just in the nicest way, obviously, you know, just let them know. So right off the bat, I think that right there makes a lot of sense, where a lot of your time's being eaten. Mike, would you say that some of your time's being eaten there too? Like, probably maybe, like, you know, not delegating to the contractors enough, or is there any room for you to cut some of your hours back if you were, you know, and maybe give them some more work once you get the right people in?
Yeah, I think I totally get what you're saying. I used to do that a lot. I used to pick up paint. I used to pick up flooring. I don't do that anymore. Like, if I need to get something, I won't pick it up. I'll order it over the phone. Like, if
Oh,
it's insulation, I'll just have it ordered. Like, I have a contact at Home Depot and Rona. I'll just order it, and I pay for it over the phone with my credit card.
what else do you feel like's eating your time when you're getting into time eaters?
Um, Project management. Lately, because I fired my main guy, I had to hire a bunch of new guys.
So just meeting, and that's really good use of
Meeting them
time.
on site, and then when they start on their first day, verifying that they actually are, like skilled, they know what they're doing. I don't have to, because I don't like babysitting them. And I had to hire a new tiler recently. I had to hire a new trim guy recently. I had to hire a new painter recently. I had to hire a new what was the other one? A demo guy recently. So just a lot of time on site eating, and then driving, of course, driving back and forth between projects. Some of my projects like hour and 15 minutes away from home, and then I'm driving from the project not just to home, but like to the other end of the city where my other project is, like an hour and a half drive, and then it's like another hour and a half drive to get home after that. So just a lot of project management, and then on top of that, I'm doing bookkeeping, payroll. I'm helping my wife. I'm training her to do things in the office.
Okay. So what do you think? Do you think you can cut your traveling down any, or seeing the houses, doing more FaceTime videos? Because your houses are pretty far from you. So, I mean, obviously, just even cutting one trip a week out could make a difference of putting a few hours, like a half day back in your.
Yeah, like, okay, I had to hire a plumber too. That was another trade I had to hire recently, and that plumber is like an old school guy. He doesn't do FaceTime. He doesn't have WhatsApp on his phone, so I had to physically go and check his workout
Let's stop
a
this.
few times.
So,
And I don't like that. I don't like working with people like that.
yeah, well, but you did work with someone like that, so you made that choice, which means you traded your time for his convenience. Because he can go. Tell him he can go to Boost Mobile, T-Mobile, whatever, and go get a phone for like $100.
I'm like, you don't know what WhatsApp is? It's like
Yeah,
2019.
dude,
You
it's
serious?
2019. If he can't, like, even if he's old, is not in himself. He can go solve that problem this afternoon if he wants to work for you. See how simple that is? When you get the funnel going, you're abundant. Then you don't accept people that like, well, it works and I got to go do this. Like your time, you're not. So basically, what's happening when you guys make these choices is you're not respecting your own time. Keep in mind, no one else will respect your time, but you need to respect it. And you have to hold your time at a very high standard because there's like bookkeeping you need to do. There's higher level stuff, getting deals. You're that guy. So if you're busy meeting plumbers and doing all that, then you're not finding deals. And you're not bookkeeping, you're not figuring out your math and your numbers. So, obviously this is when I talk about this, I hope I'm not coming off like I'm saying, okay, you guys are fucking up and you need to do this like instantly. I'm not. I'm saying over time, I want you to start thinking this way. And I want you to start just making small decisions that compound into you being farther and farther away from doing stuff that's wasting your time. And that could be over the next 30, 60 days. You could make a really strong effort to say, like, I'm going to just anything that don't make sense. I'm just not going to do it, period. Because I have stuff I need to get done. Like going out to the property, that's a half day. If you put a half day a week into your bookkeeping probably go away in 30 to 60 days. That's how simple that is.
Absolutely.
There he goes. You too, Jeff, because Jeff's got the same issue. Same thing. Absolutely. So like, Nikki, I think everybody probably has the same issue of bookkeeping. No one likes it. Bookkeeping's brutal. No one enjoys bookkeeping, by the way. So if you got any amount of houses going, bookkeeping always becomes something that piles up. But what I've been doing is I actually just book Friday from 12 to 5 is my bookkeeping time. So I have from 12 to 5 every Friday, and that's the only way I've been able to catch up my bookkeeping. Now, there's sometimes I don't even need to do anything because once you get in the routine of doing it a half day a week, you'll get caught up, and eventually you'll find that like now most of the people are doing what they're supposed to do. I might spend an hour looking at it some weeks. But
I'm not even doing that anymore. I'm just doing journal entries now when I buy and sell. And like the day to day, like I have my VA do now. I set up a new Gmail account and I just email. It's working so far. I just email her
you can pull
receipts.
A report and you know exactly what you made on your last deal and everything.
Yeah, like we review.
What were we talking about earlier? What were we talking
about? We review
the
receipts that she entered, and then for accuracy, right? Like it's classed properly.
So I don't want to waste any time. What were we talking about earlier? If your bookkeeping's good, why did you waste my time earlier talking about bookkeeping?
Because I train her. I had to get trained myself from my previous bookkeeper, and then I had to spend time training my VA to do it. And on top of it,
So
and on top
I
of it,
want to take and let's pull up your QuickBooks now, and I want you to show me your QuickBooks, and you pull me a report, and I guarantee you it ain't right.
okay.
You're talking shit, so don't talk shit and waste my time. Like, seriously, that's like, I know you're full of shit on this because there ain't nobody here can tell me they're doing this. I'm telling you, I can't pull my bookkeeping up and show you, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And I'm the guru,
Yeah.
right? I'm the guy supposed to know everything. This shit is hard, man. Bookkeeping's hard, and it requires a lot of energy that we don't like.
It took a lot of time. It took
Yes,
a lot
but
of
you
time.
told me earlier, you said I should teach a bookkeeping class because you really need that. But why would I do that if your books are all good? That's what I don't understand.
I mean, just as far as you're talking about a CFO, though, you're talking about like 3 levels. I don't have
Yes.
3
Okay, got it.
levels.
So whatever you need to do with your books, if you get them right, so you know your numbers, you can do that in a time that you're going to stop wasting running out to properties to meet plumbers that don't have cell phones. Okay, that's a waste of time. Stop doing that. So start finding reasons. Look, you're doing too much. You're only doing a couple flips at a time. You shouldn't be doing that by like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. If you got anything to do after lunch, you're not doing it right. So that's the only thing I want you to take away from this call, nothing else, right? If you're busy after lunch and you can't just go to the park with your kids and family and have a good time, then you are not with 2 flips at a time, 3 flips at a time. That's nothing. That can be done in 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, but it's easy to take 1 flip and turn it into an 8-hour job if you're doing too many things you shouldn't do. So the simple thing I always know is when people tell me they're organized is I'm just like, well, cool. How many flips you got going on right now? What's your work day look like? And if like I work 8 hours a day and I do 8 flips a year, I'm like, okay, you're not that organized. You just think you are, but organized, like I can do like without my project manager, I could do like 15 flips a year probably by lunch. And if I fired everyone in my company, I handled everything, I could do that by noon. Now, and if I had, especially if I had like one paperwork person, like a VA for $10 an hour, I could easily do 15 flips a year if they just would handle like some of the stuff that drives me crazy. Cause I will admit some of that stuff makes me go insane. That's why I hate bookkeeping because it's kind of paperworky and I don't like any kind of paperwork. And I just don't enjoy sitting there and doing that. I love fighting and getting deals, analyzing deals, doing all that. That's the stuff that a lot of the paperwork people don't like. So we make good couples. So this is really simple too, Jeff, for you, right? If you're doing 6, 7 deals a year and you're busy, then you know you could be doing better. It's that simple. You got to hold yourself to that standard. So I just need you to be real and say, like, what is it I could do better? Because there's always something. I'm looking every day to see what I can do better. And I'm way advanced from everyone on this call. And if I've got room to improve, then obviously you have room to improve. And so does everyone else. So like we always take that mindset because there's zero times that your bookkeeping's perfect and I got it all figured out. That's just bullshit to make you feel better. That's not helping or serving you in any way. Right? It's not because like we know that. We know we need to make things better.
What should I be paying like on a monthly, I'm when I'm doing 1 or 2 houses at a time, I've got receipts flying in here, either from reimbursing guys or picking up stuff myself, which I'm going to eliminate. And, I've just got receipts, right? So I scan the receipts now. Goes a lot faster, by the way. And, I've spent 4 hours last night finding somebody to handle these books completely, like take them off my plate. And they're talking about $275 a month. And I'm like, for $275 a month, I could offload this whole pile of junk on this lady. And
I mean, it's great. A no-brainer if somebody will do that for you for $275 a month. I mean, I'm getting ready to pay a CFO $100 an hour at 10 hours a month. That's $1,000. I got a comptroller coming in who's going to get all my stuff organized to set it up for the CFO, who's probably going to be $40 an hour times like 15 hours a month. So I'm probably spending $1,500 to $2,000 to make I'm doing a lot more houses. But yes, if someone can do it for $275 a month, fine. But the key to this is receipts shouldn't exist. Right? Save the planet. Stop getting receipts, essentially, right? We don't do receipts. What we do instead is we always get them to send the receipts electronically. We do no paper receipts because if you have electronic receipts, it's easy to get a bookkeeper like Bench, you know, that's a bookkeeping service you can get. You can get a VA trained to do this for you, but it all has to be electronic. So what you'll do is get all your receipts sent to an email, and then you give access to that email to the bookkeeper, and then they handle all the receipts. Really, you don't need receipts to be upfront with you. What you really need to do instead is you take and you run everything through a credit card or a bank card, and everything you're paying with the bank card, then it's going to come through, and you're going to build your bank feed right into your QuickBooks Online. So that way, when you buy something, it's going to come up. So there's no receipt necessary, because the reality is, if it says Home Depot, $387, you give them access to your Pro Extra account. They look up the $387. They see it's appliances, and it's for 123 Main Street, and the bookkeeper just throws it in for you. And that's what I got the $10 an hour VA doing for me. She basically goes in the bank account every day, clears out all the bank account, all the stuff. She's like, she'll text me once a day, usually maybe once or twice a week, even, really. And she'll say, Michael, what is this charge for? You know, and it's like massage envy or something that I didn't put on my, you know, accidentally put on my thing.
Right.
I'm like health services. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's, you know, my back was hurting. Yeah, I hurt my back doing CrossFit. But I'm like, okay. She's like, cool with me. I don't care. Right? She's like, okay, whatever. She's just wondering what it is. So it's really the bank feeds are the key. We do no receipts. The receipts are always going to be emailed to us in case we need them in the future, but I don't really like to go through receipts. I don't like to scan receipts. I don't believe in doing that. I think it's a huge waste of time in bookkeeping. So again, this is something that we can just, you know, get to the point where it's coming through the bank feeds. If you do the bank feeds, like if I have my lady do it every day in the morning, it takes her 20 minutes a day to do it, tops. Maybe not even that. And she's charging me 4 to 5 hours a week. And she does that. And plus she takes and uploads all the Q&As for the masterminds. So she does that, the Q&As for the masterminds, and she does all the bookkeeping every day. And basically just putting through the things she can figure out. She can't do deposits. She can't do journal entries, things like that. But she handles all those real quick things. She'll go into Home Depot, and I trained her on how to do a couple of really cheap, easy things. And but she keeps the books. I would say that's about 60-70% of the work. She'll keep that going to the right place, and it makes life easy. So that's super easy to train, but you can't have paper, like shoving paper into a computer. Dude, save the trees, man. It's not like you said, 2019, we do FaceTime, we do no paper, right? And you know, I sound like a young guy, like I know what's going on, but like I've taken on the young ways, right? We just run, like, look at Apple, dude. Apple don't even have a cash register. I love Apple. I'm sitting there thinking, dude, that's a crazy move that they just decided not to even have a cash register. Like, you can't even come to Apple if you ain't got a card. Like, you can't come there with cash. They look at you like, ooh, you can't take that.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get it. That this lady, I researched all these people. I went through like 20 of them. I narrowed it down to 2, and then I got it down to 1. And I'm meeting with her Monday, and you know, basically she's going to take on giving me a statement every month, you know, telling me how much I'm doing on each property, basically the ideal stuff that you'd want one of these people to do, you know. And and I've just never gotten any of them that far, but I think this lady is going to be the one that actually relieve this burden of all this QuickBooks nightmare.
I can promise you she won't be, but you know what? With that being said, don't take that as negativity. Take that as just the reality. There's zero chance that you're going to pay somebody $275 a month, and you're never going to have to think about bookkeeping again. Like, I explained this to Mike today, and it's a hard thing I had to understand. And the reason I've always sucked at bookkeeping is because I've been trying to give it away for years. I mean, I've just been like, take it away. I can't take it. Like, just get it off my plate. Let me work my magic of finding deals, you know, doing design. And honestly, I've been paid people as much as $80K a year, and I couldn't make that happen. Like, full-time bookkeepers, and I still can't even get my freaking books right, it seems. So what I'm finding is that the reason that is because it requires me to be involved in it, for me to schedule a couple hours a week to do the higher level controls to make sure money's not being stolen from me, that everything's going the way it's supposed to go, and it's being put where it's supposed to put. So if I do that once a week, then my books never get too out of whack. If I can just schedule 2 hours a week to do it, you know, it's all you really need. And the 275 person is going to get the handful of work done for you, a lot of the work, but you'll have to look at it like they're not going to take it away from you. They're just going to do most of it for you. And your job will be to then help them kind of bring it all together at the end and make sure it's all right, verify things, and make sure everything looks good.
Right.
And they're going to make mistakes.
That would be a big relief from where I'm at now, just to get the statements to say, hey, I really did make $20,000 on that house. You know, in my mind, you know, in Jeff math, I made 23. Turns out I made 17 in real math, you know?
Yeah. That's what you want to know, honestly.
That was, yeah, I would really like to know. And I don't need to know how much I spent on doorknobs. You know, I know there were 6 of them. I don't need to know that. But I would like to know the overall for each house. And that's really where I'm trying to get this thing to be.
Yeah, net profit.
You know?
All you need is net profit, and then you need actuals versus reality. I mean, expected versus actuals. It's basically what you expected to do versus what you actually did. And that's going to be on your budget, what you expected to sell it for versus what you sold it for, and what the renovation cost was, you know, versus where did you end up, because they're going to give you the most vital information. And right now, what I'm working on, I have that now, but now what I'm working on is getting that weekly, so that like every week. So it's great to have it at the end of the job. It's even, you know, that's the first hurdle you want to get over, is at the end of the job pretty quickly. You can say, okay, we made 27,000 or whatever it is. What's even better is to have it throughout the job. So that as problems, as you start to see the budget and where you're supposed to be doing this, getting like expanding and getting bigger, you can start taking action before, while it's still fixable, right? It's still solvable, right? Because at some point you're not, obviously when you're done, you can't fix anything. You can't cut costs. You can't figure out who's causing the problem, because there's always like, usually a bad apple, like a 3-star contractor that's in there running the budget up. Like Nikki had a guy named Todd. Sorry if Todd's not there listening. She had a guy, you know, named X. I won't say his name, but he kind of was running the budget up, and you know, he was, you know, just creeping things up a little more than what they wanted to spend. And nice guy, but that's just what was happening, right? And that's the reality of looking at the books, is when you look at them, you see, okay, this is costing more than it should. Who's the reason?
Right.
And then you try to fix that problem. If you can't fix it, then you make a change. You get someone new who will not be a problem. So, because no one gets the right to overspend our money, right? That's the money you feed your family with, you pay your bills with, pay your investors back with, whatever it is. So no one has the right to spend that money and waste that money. That is our money. We protect it like you would protect your baby, because it really is truly that, right? And maybe your baby might be hungry if you don't actually, you know, we have to respect it at a very high level. So now that we know, so you have that taken care of, what are some other things that, you know, anyone on the call would like to delegate out? Like, what are some duties that you think like you do every day that you're spending time on? I think you can delegate this first thing out to your people, the construction part, right? And ordering materials and doing all that. So I think we don't have to hire anyone from Upwork for that. What I love about making that change is you don't have to hire anyone new. You already got the people for it. So that means no additional expense. So that's why that's like a double whammy. When you get something that you can actually give away to someone that's already working for you, that's a home run, because that means you don't have to go spend a bunch of money on it. You know, because you already got people in the house working anyhow. So just, you know, just put them to better use. You got the bookkeeper for $275 a month. So let's see where that goes. You might need some additional help on top of that. So set that expectation with yourself. There, you might be required for you to get someone to help that bookkeeper, or really, she might be awesome, but the additional work could just maybe you saying the first 8 weeks we work together, I'm going to spend a couple hours every week giving her and supporting her on anything she needs to make sure this is right and get it caught up.
Right. No,
that would be awesome.
That would make sense, just to get it all straightened out from the snake mess she's got to untangle right now too.
Yeah.
You know, I've got I don't have another delegate issue, but I have a real world thing that I wonder if you could, I don't know, this might help somebody else too. I have the bigger house I'm doing, the budget's probably like in the mid 60s, right around 65, 66 right now. And we had a house, it's been remodeled 3 times. One of those times they didn't do a permit. They've added on to the house twice. There's electrical everywhere. Some of it inside junction boxes with duct tape. So in going through the house, tearing out walls, reconfiguring bathrooms and bedrooms, just really redoing this house, we had a lot more electrical work than what originally was budgeted for. Originally it was outlets and switches, lights, and you know, adding some cans and stuff, adding some outlets, and that was original budget with fixtures was about $1,500.
Okay.
I got an invoice from them Sunday for $5,000, and I'm like, whoa. I know that they ran into a lot of problems. I went over their invoice really.
No, that don't matter. They don't. The issue is nothing. Look, let's not even focus on whether the work they were doing was fair or needed. Let's focus on the lack of control that you have, right? In bookkeeping, you put things in called controls, and what a control does is it stops people from stealing from you or for big mistakes happening. When you're in construction, we put in controls so that people don't just, decide to make big decisions that cost us $5,000 when we thought we were spending 1,500. That can't be allowed.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's going to be a team of scientists with PhDs at my house. If an electrician says that I need to spend 5,000 versus 1,500, I'm shutting the whole job down, and I'll go live in that house until I'm 100% convinced that's true. Because I'm going to tell you, every time I've went and researched it and dug into it and stopped what I was doing, it's never true. It's just their bullshit. And then like, I'm going to, well, he'll just pay it. It's their opinion. But when challenged, most of the time, they can find a like nice middle ground where you're not spending $5,000. Maybe you're spending 2,500 or $3,000, and maybe you just save $2,000.
Right.
And it still sucks. It's still over budget, but it's not like $5,000 over budget. And it's not this feeling that I'm sure you felt when you got that bill of complete out of control chaos. Right. I mean, it's so hard when you feel like people are just spending your money without you approving it. So in my opinion, what I've had to learn to do, so I don't end up in that, because I hate that feeling too. So when you hear me talking like how assertive I am about it now, that's not how I always was. Before, it would just happen, and it would be like I just watched it happen. Now I'm just like, if anything comes up and it's a big change, I have a process, right? It's a very, very strong process of like, if you're going to change the budget, I need to research. So when people are like, hey man, we need to get this going, we're here and you got all these issues and it's going to be another $3,000, what do you want to do? Because I got my guys here, I want to get going, I need a quick answer. I'm like, hey man, you need another $3,000. The answer is no. So take your guys and roll, and I'll get back with you in a few days, or we need to be at the property and discuss why it's another $3,000. And I need to get a couple other electricians in to verify that. That's how simple that is.
I saw a lot of the stuff go down, so it's not a complete surprise, but it's about 1,500 more than I thought it was going to climb to. And I'm just I've let them know, hey, we got to sit down and go over this thing fine tooth comb, because there's some stuff on here that shouldn't cost, what you guys are charging.
Well, it's so hard to have this conversation though, Jeff, because now what you're going to do is you're going to complain about it after I've done the work. And that's not a time to complain about things. The only time you have the power to complain is before you've given them the money and before they've done the work. That's the only time you have the right to complain, because if you pay them $1 less, say you say, you know what, I'm only going to pay you $4,999 instead. They're going to be like, Jeff, rip me off. And he is a con artist who ripped me off. So, and I'm not saying you are, by the way. I'm just saying that's how they're going to feel, because they're going to feel like they got ripped off. So the problem is if you negotiate after the fact, it's the worst thing you can ever do. My partner used to do this, and it's the reason I left him with half of my like 5-star contractors. Not one contractor was with him 6 months later, because he would do this all the time to people, where he would be very passive and not say anything until the thing got big, and then he'd be aggressive. And it would be like, you can't get aggressive with people after you let them do the work and you gave them no indication you weren't going to pay them. Right. They just start doing the work, you got to, so your job is you got to have upfront contracts. You can't let people do the work and tell you what it's going to cost later, because you'll be unhappy with that every single time. There's rarely ever going to be a time where you're like, yeah, that was cheaper than I thought. Most of the time it's going to be way more than you expect. So your job is to say, look, dude, take a couple hours and figure out what needs to be done and give me a solid price of what it's going to cost. And if you're happy with that price, hire them. If you're not, then get a couple opinions, get other electricians in, start going back to go create a contractor funnel and get other people's opinions and figure out, because I can't think of anything that would make your electric bill go up $5,000. I can't think of anything. I've had people be like, Mike, all the wiring's bad behind the walls, and we got to completely rewire the whole house from like floor to ceiling, and it's like $2,500 for that, $2,000
with a new panel. Exactly.
Everything, exactly.
Yeah,
so $3,000.
Yeah, that's where we are too. And I told them this whole time, hey, don't be coming to me with some crazy bill. And,
that don't work though. You see how ineffective that is. That don't work. Telling them, hey, don't come to me with a crazy bill. You got to they tell you anything like, oh, don't worry, I'll keep it cheap. Don't worry, I'll do what I got to do.
Yeah, we're going to keep it down.
Give me a price. That's I need to know what that price is, because I have to run it by my investor and I have to get approval, or there'll be no money to pay you. And so unless you're going to do it for the original 1,500, then I need to get approval for anything over that original 1,500.
and that's where the crux of the matter comes in, because of all the guys I've had over the years, you know, bozos here and bozo clowns there, these guys are actually the best guys I've ever had.
Well,
And they're
you have
real
very
good.
low. You have very low standards. Then I'm just gonna put that out
maybe
there.
I need to crank up that. Yeah, I might need to crank that up, because these guys have done a lot of work for this is their third house. The end result work is always good. But yeah, they got a little out of hand on
They
this.
just charge you like 4 times
Yeah.
more than you want it though. So that's the only way I judge
Yeah.
them. And I don't care if
I
don't care if they did 50 jobs right. If there's one job they charge me $5,000 on, we're gonna have that's their job's in jeopardy if they did 50. If they did 2, they're fired. Like period. But
Right.
honestly, you don't have the right to do any of that now, because this is half their fault and half your fault. Right? You need to take accountability for the part that's your fault, essentially, which is allowing them
Yeah.
to set a price that you're going to be unhappy with without you properly doing your due diligence. If you stop everything and you go get other electricians in and you get some other people, what happens every single time is I always find someone to do it for way cheaper. And sometimes I even find an alternative of how to do it, and I then get them to do it way cheaper. So bottom line is I never pay the $5,000, and whatever I do pay, I'm very happy with. If it's $3,000, $3,500, I don't care if it's $4,500.
Right.
Whatever the number is, I feel comfortable paying it because I've done my due diligence and I know for a fact that was the best I could do. You'll never know it's the best you can do if you're only talking with the contractor, because you always have this little thing like, well, what if someone would have done it cheaper? So I recommend when there's that big a difference, when a bill triples, then you've got to go out and get some research. You got to get some second opinions. If somebody's like, Jeff, you're going to die tomorrow, but if you want to go see another doctor, maybe they got a cure. I'd be like, yeah, man, can I go see one this afternoon? Like, I'm not accepting that.
Right.
Like, that's like basically saying you got 30 days to live when somebody says, I'm going to charge you $5,000 instead of $1,500. Like that's the difference in you never making money, allowing that ever to happen. So, and like I said,
I basically
yes.
left it off with them right now that, we're going to look at this hard. And I said that, we get into this runaway train thing again, you got to start building me incrementally. This avalanche bill you just gave me is over the top. And
why are you letting them not just bid the price and then live with the job with no change orders? We don't do change orders. It's their job.
Yeah,
they know what the house looks like.
Way.
Well, no,
yeah,
all of it
the rest
needs to be
of the job
that way.
is that way.
Yeah, everything needs to be that way. That's my point.
Yeah,
so,
I let this get out of hand. Yeah,
so okay, it's your fault. It's their fault too, and that you're not going to be happy, and they're not going to be happy. But in the future, like, don't allow anyone. Like, just assume that anytime people don't want to give you a price, it's going to be way higher than you want to pay. So don't do it. Never.
No, I should have just had it bid out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even give you an example of a time when someone's like, someone's come in. I was like, I thought that was 1,000, and they did it for 400. It's like 2,000, and I thought it was 1,000. It's never ever less.
Right.
So I'm like, now I know, because I've got burned a few times doing the exact same thing, and I didn't like the way it felt, and I also didn't like the result of my flip, like going way over budget because of it. So it's kind of let's just get that out of anything you're doing. That's not going to, it saves you a little time by doing this, because, it might have cost you more time, but this might be a situation where you would have spent more time but saved a few $1,000s, real money, right? By the way, like a few $1,000s of real money. So like spending 2 hours at the house, meeting some, and getting other estimates could have been well worth $1,000 an hour, because I bet you could have got it done. Like, I can't even fathom like fixing some junction boxes and all that. That don't even make any sense for $5,000. It's like stupid. You can rewire the whole house for like $2,000 or $3,000, like we just talked about. So, I mean, it don't make any sense. I'm not saying that.
We're going to have a big discussion.
Well, the discussion is tough now. So you're going to have to probably take a little bit of a hit, and they're going to have to take a hit to find a common ground. But I wouldn't worry about losing them, because you can, you run the contractor funnel and find someone new. Find people who know how to get stuff done efficiently. Because $5,000, like, how many people did they have working on this for how many days?
2 guys, 50 hours.
50 hours?
We 50.
Dude, that doesn't, and they didn't rewire the whole house?
It's about, I would say about 90, 95% rewired. We kept the main panel, but there are 2 sub panels in the house from previous remodels. So they basically connected 2 sub panels to the main. and re-pulled wire all through the house to go from the subs to sub panels.
What are they charging per
hour
hour for the guys?
Each guy is $50 an hour.
So it's $100 an hour times 50 hours, so $5,000.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's not. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Do the best you can do with it. From a time saving standpoint, what I want you to think about is I want you guys, everyone on the call, to look at what you're doing every day if you're busy and see what you can take out. Like, just like list things that you're doing and what of those things are making you money, what are not making you money. If you guys have something that you want to hire out or you want to, some things you want to get done, I can show you how to do that on Upwork for really affordable price. And I can teach you how to break it down, how to train it out, how to create the training for it, like essentially how I'm training you guys to find flips and improve your business. And you can do that same kind of stuff in your when you're hiring people. So, you know, it's definitely really important to do that. Okay. So just make sure that you are going to be able to take and just figure out what you want to do though, because that's why we got to get past, like, it took us this whole hour essentially just to go through a bunch of crap, but we didn't get to anything important. So think of this as a representation of your life. You just spent an hour with me and we got to nothing. I guess we got through one good thing, but we have no clue what the things are that you're wasting your time on, because I know there's a shit ton of stuff you're wasting your time on. You're not human if it's not happening. I'm just going to tell you, you're not a human being if it isn't happening. And based on how many flips you're doing and how busy you are, it's clear that, you know, this one thing's going to be the start, fixing the contractor thing, stop paying people. That's just going to be good practice in general. And now we got to figure out, and you got the bookkeeping thing that should be helpful, but what are some of the other things, right? Maybe it's doing too many marketing pieces. It's doing whatever. We have to get real concise. And I want you to, everyone in the group, some homework for you is I want you guys to figure out what is the 10-20% that you're going to really be able to like move your business forward, that you're going to do, and what is the 80% that you're going to bring to me and say, Mike, I here's my 80% that I might be able to get rid of, because I promise you, you can get rid of 80%. And this is like pulling a Band-Aid off. It feels impossible, but you're never going to get down to running a really effective, efficient business until you're willing to let some stuff go, right? And what is that stuff? Like, I'm working with Tanya on that right now. Like, you know, what is the stuff? Because there'll be days where she crushes it and days where I'll be like, what'd you do today? Right. Next thing you know, I'm like, she's like, she ran her kids 18 places, did this, did that, worked on something that was nonsense, made no sense. And I'm just like, you know, so me and her work on every day, having like me pick the things I want her to do, because I can sit there and I've learned over time, I've trained my brain to say there's 15 things she can do, but really these 3 things are all that matter. And what's really interesting, we run a Trello board where she'll have 15 things to do. She does the 3. By the time she's done doing the 3 or 4 that are most important, I analyze the other 14 or 11 that's left. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even know if she needs to do some of that stuff. And some of it, if it doesn't get done over a couple of days because it never wins, I actually push it over to a board on hold board. And then if it stays on that board for more than a couple of days, then it doesn't need to be done. It's just something I thought to do that would have been cool to do. Like, oh, let's make the website better. The website's working fine. Why make it better? Like, that's just something we like to do. It's tinkering, essentially, is what that is, right? It's this ineffective tinkering stuff. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. No, all you really need to do is find your next deal. And all you really need to do after you find your next deal is make sure that your construction is moving forward and it's well thought out and you're spending the least amount of time to do that. And that's it. That's it. And then sell the things once you get them done. We'll talk more about that when you get some sales coming in. But right now, does that make sense that, like, you know, go through your day and audit it out? Just so you guys know, I'm doing it with my coach tomorrow, because even he's like, I was telling him how busy I was getting lately with the coaching and everything. And he's like, cool, let's take 30 days. I had to send him 30 days of my schedule, because I schedule everything that I do in a day. And he's like, let's look through your schedule and we'll start figuring it out. So I got, you know, because I'm getting busy again. I'm like, why am I so busy? But I'm not busy because of my flipping business. I'm busy because I'm actually putting the 15-20 hours a week into my flipping business, which for a long time I was actually putting about 5 to 10 hours a weekend, and it was causing consequences of not doing as well. So I got to put the 15 hours in to get all my duties done and to really, you know, do things at the right level. And otherwise I start to have a negative downturn in my business. But it's just because I love coaching and I can coach 40, 50 hours a week if I wanted to, but I have to find balance between that and the things that actually pay my bills and really change my life, which is my flips. So, I got to make sure I prioritize everything that needs to be done on my flips first. And so that's what I've been doing for a couple months, and I've been seeing great results by doing that. But again, I'm getting busy, so we're going to do another audit. So I would ask you guys to do the same thing. Like, look at your calendar and audit your stuff and make tough choices, because all the hours you're wasting doing X, Y, or Z, these are hours you could be getting into knowing what your deals are doing, strategically doing the most profitable things you've done. Like, where's your money coming from? If you go back and look at the last 200K you made or 100K you made, where did it come from? And how can you set your life up so you spend every waking minute doing that exact thing that made the money and nothing else?
Right.
Nothing else and then everything else is like noise. Someone else will do it, or what I love testing? Doing nothing. Like finding a deal, sending it to my title company, and then waiting for them to say, who's the hard money lender? Jay Dackman. You got his contact? Okay. Can you send everything over to him for me? And they're like, well, what do you want to borrow? Just tell him I want to borrow the purchase and the rehab. He'll know what I'm talking about. And then I do nothing. And then it's even better. Now they're like, hey, well, who's coming to settlement? Not me. Like, can you just send it over and I'll get it notarized. And I get my mom, she has a notary stamp. She notarizes and signs my name. I tried to sign my name the other week and they were like, this don't look like your name. And I'm like, probably not, because I've never actually signed before. My mom signs for everything, because that's a waste of my time to go sit at the title company for, 2 hours signing a settlement. And I'm not saying if you're only doing a deal here and there, but again, it is a time suck. So remotely settling, I pay $150 to remote settle every single time, or I let them send it to my mom. Tomorrow they like, oh, we need to meet with you. I'm like, cool. I'm eating lunch at Panera Bread. You can meet me there. That's it. That's all I got in my calendar. You can come by my house and sign if you want, like when I got a 10-minute break, but dude, that's it. Like, I'm not taking 2 hours out of my schedule to go sit at a title company and travel there. That's not happening, because them 2 hours can be used to do something productive, find deals, find new students, do whatever's going to drive my income, right? That's the stuff that makes me money, making my flips sell for more money, all those things. But that's a discipline thing. We do it slowly. You start to just make every little thing you do to get more productive. Everybody on this call, by the way, every little thing you do to become more productive is going to compound, just like saving money. And you're going to become someone who can do a lot with a little time. But when you hear me talk about it, everyone probably thinks like, there's no way. How does he do all that? It's not because I work super hard. I just only work on the things that matter and nothing else. And it's like for me, I just refuse to work on anything else. And I refuse to bullshit my own self about the things I need to do anymore, because I don't need to do them. I've done them all and figured out how they suck and they don't make anything happen. And I feel completely out of control and like useless. So I've learned, but I've learned the hard way, just like everyone else has to learn a little bit of the hard way. So the things that I would tell you before we go, a couple more minutes, I got to roll, but the things that are super important are always going to be when you can do something that's going to create long-term freedom for you. So like Mike said, he was busy this last week meeting contractors. Like, that is very productive time that creates long-term benefit. If he finds a great contractor in that bunch of people he was meeting who's awesome and who's going to make things easy for him and make his life change, well, that guy is going to end up being an asset that could save him hundreds of hours over the next few years. So spending, a handful of hours or a busy week or even a busy month interviewing contractors and building your team, that's awesome. Going out there and doing one thing yourself is stupid. But if you go out there and you spend a whole day framing a house, but you do it with 3 guys you got off of Craigslist or Kijiji, whatever the name it is in Canada, right? Then like, that's useful, because when you're doing that, then one of those guys might be your next project manager, might be your next like on-site project manager, might be your go-to guy, gets a lot of things done for you, right? That's useful time. You also are learning that trade and you're participating, you're working, but you never work by yourself. We always work with others, right? If we're going to do work, then we work with others. If we're going to be at a house all day doing some stuff, we're going to make sure you got interviews. You're going to check in on the house. Well, don't check in on the house unless you're meeting some people there also to maybe take on some additional work, so you can get a secondary crew for any crew that sucks. Any crew that's driving you crazy and aren't part of the team that's making Jeff's life easy, guess what? They're going to get a contractor funnel put on them, where now you're going to have a bunch of people fighting for their work.
Exactly.
Most people are going to fall in line, by the way, and some won't. But the ones that won't, who, it's not. We don't really care because it's we have a system. We have to follow it. We have to keep people accountable to the system. And the reality of that is just all that is. We can't do anything but that. We have to. Otherwise, we're going to never have time to serve our business in a big way. Right? Like we got to do the things, the business side of it. Right now, running around getting materials and stuff is not the business side of flipping. I'm not saying I haven't done it. I'm not saying you might not have to do it in the future, but let's start focusing on not doing it ASAP. And because like someone will do it if you don't. It's one of those things. When I don't do things, I figure out who can do. Like I used to do so much when I first started doing this. I mean, I would do everything because I'm like, well, what if they don't have this? And if they don't have that, let me call a title company, make sure they got all this stuff. Now I'm just like, dude, you guys figure it all out, man. And then they're like, we can't even get a hold of you. I'm like, well, cool. Text my mom. Like, don't get a hold of me. That's awesome. I love when I list a property and I don't respond to anyone for days. Like for people who have a realtor's license, this is hilarious, but I don't respond to anyone for days. And I even got really super smart about it. I took my own phone number off and I have a Google Voice number as my realtor number. So now when they call, they go to a voicemail that I don't answer. It's great. And I got on there, call Kathy if you have questions. And if they call me, I'm like, it's all good. They usually call my broker at some point. And I tell my broker the same thing, like, well, you don't have to answer either. Why don't you put it on a Google Voice? And you wouldn't have to hear these phone calls. Because she gets like one a month where people are like, you can't get a hold of them. But I'm like, it's right in the listing. Call Kathy. Don't call me. Last thing I'm going to do is call them and sit on the phone asking stupid questions because I got to get my business together, right? I don't have time for that. Anyhow, all right, guys, I got to roll. I got a webinar shortly. And so if you guys, I'd like to get back into this, but let's get back into it once we have some stuff to talk about Upwork, because what I would like to show everyone how to do is how to take the little odds and ends and hire people from Upwork to do it for you. But you got to figure out what those are. So Jeff, it sounds like you're taking and making some good grounds. It sounds like Mike is actually getting some good stuff done. For everyone else, if you're not doing a lot of flips, you don't really need this yet. This is going to be something that's once you got enough going on, like a couple houses and you're starting to get really busy. If you're just doing one flip at a time, then, just take on all the work, but take some of the lessons we just talked about, because if you're doing one flip at a time, it means you're probably working a full-time job and you don't have 1,000,000 hours to do this. So, obviously be as productive as possible, because that way you can spend time improving your flip, making your results better and doing a lot of cool stuff. Okay. So, Jeff, if you get something, or Mike, if you get something that you want to hire out on Upwork for and find someone to do, then I'll help you with that. But let's talk about what it is and how it's going to change and how we got to, it takes more time than just saying, oh, let's just do it. I'm sure if you guys have ever hired before, you probably just put an ad out and hired and that was it. Actually, you have to put a strategic plan together to hire someone who's actually going to be a rock star. And that strategic plan is figuring out like what you're going to do with them, how you're going to do it, how you're going to know if they're winning and they're losing. All these things are extremely important in order to hire someone and know if they're doing well or not. Okay. So cool. Mm-hmm. Everyone have a good couple days, and please Marco Polo me if you get down to your list and you want to talk, or I want to talk to you and get real clear about this with you. Okay. Everyone. Okay. Awesome, everyone. All right. See you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
See you. All right. See you guys later.